Welcome to Lock and Key, the show where we unlock the keys that drive success. I'm your host, Lauren Bates. Here, we sit down with bold thinkers, trendsetters, and industry influencers to reveal the principles that open their doors. Business, creativity, resilience, legacy, victory. This is where real stories meet real strategy, and nothing stays locked for long. This is Lock and Key. Okay, well, welcome back to Lock and Key, the podcast. Today's guest is a force, not just in business, but in community, culture, and legacy. She's someone who's opened the door majorly for me personally by giving me my very first opportunity to speak in front of NIMBA. That's the Northern Indiana Minority Business Association. And I've never forgotten that. And since then, she's continued to lead with vision, authenticity, and a heart for impact. She currently serves as the president of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce of St. Joseph County, the head of the American Marketing Association of Michiana, a Spark facilitator at St. Mary's College, a mentor through SCORE Michiana, and the outreach coordinator for Shield of Faith, and owns her own business, Visions GPS Branding LLC, a creative branding company offering logo design, banners, and visual branding tools for small businesses. And of course, she's the powerhouse behind NIMBA, working every day to elevate minority owned businesses and reshaping the economic landscape of Northern Indiana. She's a builder, a connector, and a true leader who shows up in every space with purpose. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome her as the first Latina to join me here on the Lock and Key podcast. So please help me welcome my friend and one of the most impactful leaders in our region, the brilliant Gudelia, aka Paula Sowers. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen. Give it
Woo!
up.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that just brought a tear to my eye. That thank you for the
Yes.
great words. You are amazing. And especially what was so impactful for me in all of this is the one point that you made, that
Mm-hmm.
you had the opportunity to present in front of NIMBA. Everything else didn't matter. That part right there was so impactful because that's the vision and the mission behind who I personally am, is seeing people grow.
I really appreciate that. I remember the day when you came and you asked me to speak, and I was just flabbergasted to say the least, and I couldn't believe an honor like that was being, behested upon me and that type of thing. I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to talk about? And you were just like, just be you. You know what I mean? Like you've
Yes.
got the credentials, you've got the experience, and what really grabbed me was the fact that you said, the business owners rather. They need to know about this type of thing in order to help their business grow. And you have that insight. And, I never forgot that. When I first moved back to South Bend, you were one of the true pioneers that kind of put me on my path to really expand, spread my wings, and grow out here. And I tell you that all the time, how much I love you and everything. You've been really
Oh,
being one of the
ditto.
biggest support beams in my growth here, and I owe like the world to you and everything. So I'm forever grateful. But for the audience out there, for the listeners, could you just give us a quick background of who Paula Sowers is?
Sure, I'll try to do it really quickly here because there's a lot there to unpack, but that's okay. I always say the main thing is every step that I take and everything that I do, for me personally, and like I said, my vision and mission is ordered by God.
Yes.
And He's the one who leads me in different paths. And I always tell everybody, we as Latinas or minority or small businesses, we need to be in the room. We need to be sitting at the table. And that is part of my mission. And a lot of times I was locked out of those rooms. I was told I couldn't speak properly. I was told I was uneducated. I was told I would never be. In the 20th century, and it's like it was hard for me to try to see who I really was when I kept being squashed. But then it's like I didn't I raised my children. I was a single parent, and I raised my children, and I kept telling them, we are not going to be victims. We are not going to be a number. We are not going to be a label. We are
Hmm.
going to overcome, and we are going to be. And then all of a sudden I kept saying, all these years I kept telling my kids that, why am I not doing that?
Right, right.
So yeah, because I was too busy trying to raise them so that they would be, do good in their future, so they didn't have to run into these barriers, and they would know how to navigate that space. So then I just started implementing it myself. Say, I'm done. I'm done being that person who sits, down and keeps quiet. I mean, I'm not nasty or anything like that. I just go to the table, I sit at the table, I listen, and I see where is the opportunity that I could say, "Hey, I'm sitting right here."
I love it. I love it. You've always striked me as someone who's very grounded, very personable, and I love the fact that you listed God as um, the main force behind everything that you do. Now, how were you able to carry that into some of your tough seasons when things didn't go according to plan? And how were you able to pivot and look at the bright side of things? Because I think a lot of folks, along their path, they come across obstacles where they don't really know how to pivot. How were you able to overcome those type of obstacles that you've had along your journey?
It was a lot of obstacles, and I'm going to say that ever since growing up as a young child. And for me, that's what I always look back at.
Hmm.
When you're an 8-year-old child and you start working at that age, and you're working outside in the fields, because I was a farm worker. I worked in the fields at 8 years old, and I walked up and down these rows, and I always tell everybody this little thing. It was hard, and sometimes, I look back and I say, it was hard. It was difficult. When I went to the store or something, my hands were filthy because of the work that I did, because you couldn't get all the tomato stains off your hand. People would look at you and they'd turn their faces up, or the kids would make fun of you. And so when I was walking up and down the fields, I would always make the clouds my symphony. And
Ah,
the rows were my audience. And then I would, when you're a little kid, the clouds make things. And I
right.
always wanted to be a ballerina. And so I had practice going up and down, and I have this huge imagination. And again, God always watching over me. And I would just, when I felt bad or sad, I would go to my happy place, which would be a ballerina dancing in the clouds. And I'll have to show you, but my husband drew that illustration for me for hopefully my book to come, which is going to be on there.
Yes.
I would just lose myself in that. And as I grew, every pain, a lot of people go through things, and they always say, I take myself out of my body and I say, this is not happening. I am not going to go through this, but learning and growing. And next time I'm going to try it different. But I always, the one thing that I go back to again, and I know I'm going in circles here because I'm jumping around from different generations in my life,
Yeah, no problem.
Um,
Take your time with it. I
uh,
love it.
thank you. Thank you. I always say one day well, one year was like the worst year of my life. The things that I found out in my life were so, like, I just didn't want to live anymore. I
Hmm.
was driving home from work, and I'm going to try not to cry. I was driving home from work, and I literally wanted to turn the car in front of the semi that was coming, to
Oh
get
my
hit it
goodness.
head on and say, I just want to be done. I don't want to be here anymore. I am worthless. I don't belong.
Oh,
But God reached down and he touched me and he said, you are worth a lot. You are my angel, and I have things for you to do in the future. So you can't give up now. And that's what I heard in my heart and in my head. And so I put the car back in line and I was crying. I said, "But God, why? Why me?" And
Hmm.
he said, "Because I want you to know I know the beginning to the end. And I know at the end, this story is a good story and it's going to end well. So don't ever give up. No matter what, my hand is in everything." So there are circumstances that I go through, and you know as well as I do the namesayers. And I was just going through this just 2 days ago. Somebody comes up to me and says, "Well, somebody told me this about you, and somebody said you did this." You know how that goes,
Yeah.
because there's always going to be people like that.
The smearing
And
of the name. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and so I'm like, my goodness, if people really knew how much time I took to help people and what I do to do this. And then God's like, "Well," he sat me down again. He says, "Well, are you doing it or
Hmm.
am I doing it?" And so then that's when you're right. You're right here again. So again, I put myself and say, "Okay, forget it. I can't care about what people say or what they do, because nothing's going to change the fact of what my orders are and what I need to do while my time is here. And my time here is to help those that want to be helped, those
Yes.
that need help. I do run my own business, but I know that He will make time and He will orchestrate, like that ballerina in the sky. He orchestrates my life every day. And so it lifts me up when I start getting down by saying He knows the beginning to the end. And I can't change the outcome to what it is. So why am I upset about this?
Absolutely. It takes me back to, attending some of the NIMBA meetings, and you would always make us stand up and give our 2 minute or 160
Yep.
second elevator pitch. And
Yep.
we would go around the room, and some voices were very meek, some were very quiet, some came out strong, and you would always be there to remind us, say, hey, say it with your chest, be say it
Yep.
very strong, say it like you mean it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that goes a long way. You're very inspirational when it comes to things of that nature. Very uplifting. You encourage the small or the minority business owner to say, "Hey, you matter too," but you have to
Right.
say it. You have to exclaim it. You have to declare it with your mind, body, and soul that you are
Mm-hmm.
worthy of all of this. And I'm kind of
Yes.
getting, with your childhood story, how it transitions into the ethos that you deliver when you're in front of the Nimba businesses. I'm just now resonating with that right now. It's very powerful.
Yeah, it's because so many years I was told to be quiet, sit there, you're the invisible person, in
Hmm.
spite of when you're exploding inside. You have all these gifts and talents that you were ordained with, and how do you use them if you're just muted? You can't.
Absolutely. Now, you serve as a positive mentor with a lot of stewards here in the community, in the business sector. Now, did you ever have your own personal mentor? Like, I'm
Oh,
just curious,
yes.
who poured into you? I mean, aside, I mean, and we know God was, of
Yes.
course, the top
Right.
influencer, but was there someone here that poured into
Yes.
you?
Yes, there was a couple people, and there were several people throughout my life, but the first one that I really, really opened my eyes, I was a teenager and I was working that's when we first moved here to South Bend, because we lived in Michigan and we came here, because our father was an alcoholic and he was abusive. And so my mom brought all of us here to live. So we came here, and I was working at Notre Dame under a program called CETA. And there was this woman there, and Latina woman. And I was sitting there and I had, like, typical Latina or youth. I shouldn't put no label, but I'm just a youth. I have this chip on my shoulder. I hate the world, you know, this is happening to me, poor little old me, blah blah
Yes.
blah.
Yes.
And she's sitting there and she looks at me. She said, "Hmm." And I looked at her, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come here, come here." I'm like, "Okay." And she said, "I can knock that chip off your shoulder if you want me to."
Whoa.
And I looked at her like, "Whoa, yeah." I said, "Whoa,
That's without
nobody's
you saying
never."
a word. Like she felt the energy.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
Yes, because I have that face. I could I could burn a hole in.
I remember seeing that face a couple of times
Yeah,
myself. So,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. So I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was," And then she sat down, and then she became gentle, but she caught my attention and said, "Look, listen. You can go through life hating everything, and coming against everything, but you're going to put barriers up. And when you have barriers up, how can you meet anybody and know anybody? Or how can anybody get to know who you are if you got
Mm,
these barriers up? Yes, you got to be careful, but you have a destiny. And she's the first one that imparted that part of life into me, which made me want to be more of a servant to our community because she poured into me. And yeah, and there was others that took the time and that were put in my path that said, "Hey, you are going to do something. You need to do this, this, and this." Or just, they didn't turn away from me. They didn't look at down on me.
right.
And yeah, and that's why I'm like, when I see somebody, I don't want to call the word struggle because
Hmm.
nobody's struggling. When they just don't know the power within them. When I see somebody that's unaware of their power, I love to just step in there and say, "Hey, I see you."
Mm, that's powerful. That's really
Mm-hmm.
powerful. So someone took the time to embrace you
Yeah.
and fortify you with that strength, saying, "Hey, you can be somebody." Now
Mm-hmm.
you've been doing that. You've been pouring into many small businesses in the area to help them grow. So can I ask you what inspired you to launch Nimba? And just tell us a little bit about the
Yeah. Yeah.
organization in itself, what it stands for and what the mission is behind it for you.
Well, again, not seeing small businesses or opportunities for us in certain areas. Everywhere you went, it was like, well, we don't have this, we don't have that. We don't know where our small businesses are. We don't know where our minority businesses are. We don't know where our veterans or women-owned businesses are. And we're standing right there.
Mm,
We're right in front of them. But no. And then at first I was like, well, I'm Latina. I should get up to the front of the row. But then
right.
I was like, oh, that's not going to work. It just put me further to the back, you know? And so and I
Right.
was like, no, no, no. Go back to remembering you're not a victim here. Who are you? So I kept looking around and where's there I went to different networking events, but there was nobody like me there. Nobody like
Mm,
me, or why don't you say nobody like me? There was no one there that understood what I was going through, or
right.
I as a business owner was going through. That's what I should say. Because we all do business differently, and we all speak different languages, and it's important, yes, to be in a room where you speak the same language, but to learn a different language. And I
Oh,
was,
I like
where
that.
can that, yeah, where can somebody go to be able to understand what you need to understand, but at the same time, get knowledge and grow and learn a new language? I'm still talking about English, but I'm talking about small business to corporate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of times, and I've been in places where somebody comes in and and they're speaking and all these giant words and stuff, and you just look around and everybody's the deer with the headlights. I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
It's like trying to read
we're not gonna.
hieroglyphics.
Yeah,
It's like what's going on
yeah,
here? Hmm.
exactly. So that's one of the reasons, and the other reason is to make sure that we find we're at the table, and again to help. small businesses, to be able to present who they are. And I just had a couple of people say, you know what, I went and talked to somebody, and my pitch just rolled off my tongue.
Lovely.
To me, I was
Lovely.
like, that's empowering, because to
Mm-hmm.
hear that somebody's actually doing and feeling confident is what NIMBA's about. Bringing that confidence mindset, and the most important is connecting them to other communities and businesses.
Fantastic. Empowering these companies is what it's all about. Now,
Hmm.
I had the honor of actually speaking at one of the NIMBA events, based on marketing and
Hmm.
advertising. Now, how important do you think storytelling and branding are for these minority businesses right now?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, everybody that doesn't have a story, and let me back it up a little bit. Every
Mm-hmm.
time somebody tells me something, I look at them, tell me your story without telling a story
That's
is the
powerful.
best thing. Yes, because a lot of times people will go on and on and on and on about one little thing, and all of a sudden you got to read the body language, and it's like, okay, you're putting somebody to sleep. Yes, your story is important, but how do you tell it without telling the entire story? And that to me is like huge.
It's like, how do you marry the business end with your personal force? When I would go
Yes.
and talk to the small business owners here in the area, when I was selling radio, I would always
Yeah.
tell them, hey, everyone has a story. Like, there's a reason why you went into business for yourself. Why don't you talk to
Right.
me about that? And sometimes it's easier said than done, but once
Right.
you get them to start to pour out about who they are and why they did what they do, then you start to
It's huge.
understand the passion for what they're
Yes.
doing. And then, my job was to try to help and amplify that passion, where it would kind of pour out into whatever service or product, that they were, trying to push and whatnot. I think that's very important.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's huge. I mean, to me, if you can't tell your story in, like I always say, in a couple words or whatever, it's impactful. Because if I would rather buy something from somebody I know personally and have a relationship with, and that's part two of telling your story, is building that relationship.
And speaking of building relationships, you are a master networker. I've seen you in action, and it's almost like no one can say no to you. Like, you have this type of energy. Folks gravitate, to you in that aspect. Um, how were you able to master that, or is it just something deep down that you have, um, some type of kinetic force about you, or
Right.
was it something that you had to learn how to do? Because, and the reason I ask that is because you're a member, or you're the head of so many different organizations, and most of them, or I should say, really all of them, have networking in some way, shape, or form attached to what their agenda is. How important is networking, and how did you get so good at it?
Well, first, networking is so important, because there used to be that thing called cold calling. I don't think anybody does that hardly ever anymore. I do a little bit, but I don't think that people do that anymore a lot. It's more about networking, because networking is building relationships. And for me, believe it or not, I hate talking in front of people, because the first thing is, I don't know if you there's that little girl inside of me that will remember, like, if you'll see somebody and they do a certain look and it triggers an
Yes,
old memory or a word or a comment, and you start shrinking down.
yes.
But and so that's the hardest thing for me to do. I mean, I'm my worst critic. I think we all are our worst critic. And I think that it's so important to be able to speak in front of somebody. And I was taught through the Spark program a long time ago, is your posture, standing up straight, And the one I learned the most, when you see me, and if I put my superwoman or the Wonder Woman pose up, that means I'm trying to fight this little girl inside of me and said, nope, you get back down and let this woman take over.
I love it. I love it. There's
Yes,
organizations out there, people pay a lot of money just to hear that type of advice right there. So run with it. I love it, sister. I love it.
yes.
Hmm.
No, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when I start feeling like I'm starting to cave, no, you're going to stop and you're going to be who you are. Start speaking slowly so that you don't start working over over your tongue and doing all this cray cray. I It is scary, but I feel the confidence when I do the pose, and of course remember who I really am and where I walk.
Okay. Okay. I can feel that. I can feel that. Now, you mentioned Spark earlier. I think this would be a great way
Hmm.
to pivot. Could you tell us a little bit about what Spark is, what it stands for, and your role
Yes.
in position within that organization?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, oh my gosh. I truly believe if I did not go through the Spark program, I may not even be here right now. Because
Really?
yes, I was in a place where I worked for over 25 years, and that's the place that I was told I didn't look the part, I didn't know how to speak, and I would never have the opportunity to grow. And I was
Mm.
just that person. And it seemed like there was so many barriers there and things that were said to me. I just I can't even repeat them. They was just horrifying. And I'm like, that's okay. There I'm gonna get out of this one day and I'm not gonna leave until I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm gonna go, nobody's gonna fire me. They can try to fire me, that's fine. And I open the door, go ahead and fire me. But nope, no, but they couldn't fire me because they didn't have just cause. And I really think I would have had the best case in history of all the things that were said to me. And but that's another story where I finally forgave and I moved on. And I believe this last year is when I really moved past all of that stuff and made me a lot stronger. But I was going back to Spark, and I'm sorry I digress there,
No, no,
but
it's totally fine.
because of all that, what I went through, um, a friend of mine said, "Hey, can you come and speak about marketing? Because that's what I did. I
Mm-hmm.
did branding and marketing." And to this Spark program, it was their first year, they're launching and yada, yada, yada. So I went there and I told my story and everything like that. And everybody like, oh my gosh, you should take this class. You start your own business, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, I will, I will. And so I signed up for the next, I was the cohort in the cohort number two. And I signed up and I totally remember when I first went there, I went there literally with my head down, my back curled, and the you know how people are all hunched over. And I
Right.
was like, oh my gosh, because number one, my dyslexia, number two, I'm tired, single mom, all these little barriers that you keep telling yourself. And I'm like, no, I got to do this. I got to do this for my kids. I got to do this for my family. And
Mm-hmm.
so I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I could just feel it every class. It was like, whoa, I was empowered.
Okay.
The next
Okay.
class, I felt myself more empowered. I was like, wow. So it was 14 classes, but every class and every mentor that came said something to me that made me feel worthy, that made me feel like I belong. And to me, that's what Spark is. It sparked and ignited a flame within me, and that's why I'm so adamant about keep helping the women in Spark and keep going through it, because it's like not everybody has that opportunity to be in programs like this. Maybe there's a woman out there or even a man that that works and they have a dream, and their backbone isn't straight because of everything, that pressures of life and the things that they've been told to crush them down, and they can't even see. I mean, there was a point in my life I couldn't even see beyond my hand in front of me because I believed all the things that were said about me.
Right,
But
right.
through that program, I said, no, this is who I am. I am Gudelia,
I
Paula
love it.
Sally. I am that woman. Now
I
come
love the way
on
you
and get
say your
out my
name.
way.
Yes, it just bring all the cultural richness to it. Like yes, and like this is me,
Yeah.
and I'm owning this. So I gotta ask. So exactly what is Spark? Is that a
Yes.
women
Yeah.
based
Yes, it is. It's
business?
a women run. It's a woman owned. Ugh. Okay, let me start over.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spark is a program held at St. Mary's College, and right now it's an 11-week course, and we hold it every Monday, where a woman's going to learn from A to Z how to run a business. It could be anybody who's just thinking about running a business. It could be somebody that's been in business. It could be somebody that had a business. Anybody, all women are on this, and you can be in any ecosystem. Anybody, any woman
Phenomenal.
can. It's yes. And and that's the thing. When I sat in my first in that program, I sat with next to somebody that made so much money that I'll never see in my entire life. And I've also sat next to a woman who lived in Elkhart, was homeless, lived in a homeless shelter, took the trolley, then caught a bus, then got to St. Mary's. That's the
Oh,
power behind that. And we all
that's
treated each
dedication.
other, yes, but we all treated each other like we were the same. We weren't higher or lower in no ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
We are sisters, and that's, I think that's it. The program, learning how to do that, and you do graduate. If you graduate, you have to have a business plan. It may not be viable. You may not launch your business right away, but that's the thing. You get a business plan, you get a cohort of women who love each other and love the program. There's been over 350 women that have gone by through the program, and I've been with the program since the beginning. And after I took it, I started being the mentor and facilitator, and I've been helping be part of the program ever since then. But to me, watching these women in every cohort, I mean, I'm just amazed at what they go through, and just to see them rise and to
Right.
rise into who they are meant to be.
That is absolutely phenomenal. I love that story.
Hmm.
Now you say that they get like a business plan. Now I
Yep.
gotta ask. So is there how do I phrase it? Is there like a success rate? Like, the women and they come and
Oh, yes.
they get incorporated. They have their business plan. What would you say, just from your personal uh, opinion or standpoint, what's the success rate of coming to this program and really blowing up their own business? Because it
Oh,
sounds like it's something very real, and I love that we're
it
talking about
is.
this because hopefully we can empower other young ladies, to look into this program and say, hey, you know what? I always thought about running like my own dry cleaning business or my own cleaning service or my own construction
Right.
company or owning my own restaurant or so I'm just asking you these questions to.
No, no, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the success rate because there's been 350 women, and I'm
Wow.
sorry I don't know that part because that is in the office of St. Mary's, the people
Certainly.
who run. Yeah. But I have seen many, many women who I've continued to keep in contact with who have been successful. There have also been many women who are not ready to launch, but have a blueprint to start whenever they can. And then there are many women that said, yeah, I shouldn't start a business. But that's for them to decide. where if they should or should not. And
Right.
they see, just being able to walk through this, they see, no, this not for me. Yes, it's for me, but I have to wait. And then, yes, I'm ready and I'm running.
I love it.
And
If
yeah,
anything, it's stirring their creative juices and it's igniting their critical thinking. Okay, at least I know what it's about. At least I have the blueprint for what I need to do. Maybe it's not the right time, but I've got the seeds here and I can sow them when I'm good and ready. That type of thing.
yes, yes.
Understood. Okay. So, again, you're wearing like a lot of hats, and forgive me for kind of jumping all over the place, but
It's okay.
you do so much. I mean, I'm exhausted just looking at your resume. Like, goodness gracious, So, I mean, from Score Michiana to like Shield of Faith. Let's touch on and I think this kind of coincides with NIMBA because you have a lot of speakers that come that speak about, getting construction bids and things of that nature. I mean, I would always come, from a media marketing standpoint, but I've always noticed when I'm there in the room, a lot of the businesses there, wore the hat of under construction. And you are the chair
Uh-huh.
of Michiana Women of Construction. So, what are some of the challenges? From a woman's standpoint that
And
you see in that specific trade.
well, I'm going to back it up a little bit. I
Hmm.
was the chair, and that
Okay.
was several years ago. It's been more than 5 years since I've been the chair. I just wanted to clarify that. But construction has always, as well as that's when I started learning about construction back then. And that's why I kind of, seeing a lot of our people who are doing the roofing, who are doing the construction, who are running the dump trucks, and
Yes.
their opportunities are not being heard, or, there are opportunities there that are being missed because of knowledge or not being able to be in the room.
Hmm.
And that's one of that's the biggest thing that I see. Well, I'll back up a little bit. When we had several people of construction there, I asked, why are we not bidding on this? Because we brought some bids to NIMBA, said, here, you guys, go bid on this.
Yes.
Nobody bidded on it. And I was like, why did you guys not bid on this?
That's a big
And one of the
question.
late,
Hmm.
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go
And
ahead.
no, no, you're good. You're good. One of the ladies looked at me. She says, because I'm afraid not being able to have to see it through because of the capital, or to fail because I don't have enough workers, and I'm like, well, don't bite the whole thing off. Take a
Hmm.
little bit, try it a little bit. And oh, I didn't know I could do that. So again, it's knowledge that is a barrier. And that's part of another reason why NIMBA is there, is to try to open that door for knowledge, to say, here, be in the room. You may not win this thing, but try. We're never going to learn anything if we don't try. And that's what I did when did some bids for the city of South Bend. I lost some bids and I was upset. Well, why
Hmm.
didn't I get it? I barely put any margin on it. I should have, but then I didn't realize, and I had to learn, is I'm a small company bidding against these larger companies that do not have hardly any margin, and they still make money. But because I barely have any margin, it's not the same. I still got to pay all this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
those, just learning all these little things and trying to be in the room so I can listen. And again, being in the room, networking, learning, getting that knowledge is all a key to work and to be able to get to that next level of winning a contract. Because a lot of times, yeah, they go with the person they know because they have a relationship.
Oh, there it is. That's where the networking comes in. I see where you're going with this.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And
Hmm.
I feel sometimes, and you're right, when being in the room and I would hear some of these things, it's almost like a two-sided coin, right? And I'm sitting here taking notes on what you're saying because this is powerful stuff that you're mentioning here. Access is a big part of it. We have to be in the room. But then
Yep.
on the flip side, once we're in the room, there, and you just mentioned that there's a fear of failure, and I
Yes.
think that we can't afford to go and we bang down the door. Hey, we want to be in the room. We want to be in the room. Then we
Yep.
get in the room and we still doubt ourselves.
Yes. Yes. Because it's like, number one, I don't know the lingo because there's
Mm,
everybody has their own lingo. Even like from, and I was talking to a contractor, some of the specs from Elkhart County and St. Joe County are different. There's for just saying something about light bulbs. I think I barely remember, but they were talking about there's different ways of saying this. I'm like, what? A light bulb's a light bulb, but there's
right.
different. They, there's no, there's different things that it means the same, but they say it different.
Right.
And those are the things. No matter where you work, you got to find out. You got to learn the lingo.
That's incredible. And you're absolutely right. Otherwise, you kind of come off. And I don't want to use the word
Yeah.
ignorant, but it just sounds like
No.
okay, you haven't been around long enough to really, get where you need to be. You almost feel a little exposed. Okay, she
Yeah,
doesn't
you
really
call
know
it
what she's talking about. Absolutely.
right. You
Absolutely.
call it young or green.
Yep,
She's a
there it
greenhorn. That
is. Yes,
nobody's
indeed.
ignorant. They're just young or they're greenhorn. And I was that person because, I didn't know all this stuff. And then I just decided I'm just gonna go in the room and I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna listen for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I took all my notes, I learned the lingo, and then when I show up, I start talking, yeah, let me tell you about this part.
I love
Now, I
it.
want to ask a question.
Yeah, there it
Yes.
is. You took the
Yes.
fear out and you said, you know what,
Yeah.
I can do this. And, I tell a lot of folks, I know that I don't know. And that immediately
Mm-hmm.
disarms folks because you're being vulnerable, you're being humble, but at the same time you're showing that passion, that hunger that hey, even though I don't know, I'm willing to learn. And it's okay
Yep.
to, fumble and stumble along the way. But you have to have
Yeah.
that intestinal fortitude to say, hey, it's okay to not know, but I guarantee you by the time I'm done or getting to this next obstacle, I will know this. I will know X, Y, and Z.
Right. We all have to learn how to walk. We
Mm-hmm.
all crawled and then we begin to walk. And then you start running.
I love it. I love it. So, God has been
Yes.
the primary influencer in your entire life. Now, you had a role with Shield of Faith. I don't want to date it or anything like that. Like I don't want
No,
to make that gaffe again where it's like, oh well, that was 20 years ago. But I did notice on your resume, Shield of Faith. So I gotta ask this question, and maybe this probably should have been question number one. But how does spiritual outreach intersect with your leadership and your business efforts? How were you able to marry all of that with your spiritual refinement, if you will?
I always say that um, no matter what you're doing in my own personal self, I believe I'm walking shield of faith every day. And I am who I am here in front of you now
Mm-hmm.
and even behind closed doors. I will never be a fake. And to me, it always goes in together because even if I'm out there doing our outreach ministry, I run into business owners that are struggling. And at that point, it gives me the opportunity to pray with them, to maybe help them find another way to support what they're going through. I mean, I actually, this past Saturday, we had an outreach and I had several construction people come through, and the things that they had prayed about, that we prayed about, were encouraging words to them, not from me, but from another, from God.
Right.
But I, I always intertwine everything that I do,
I love it.
if that makes sense,
It
because
does.
it's
It makes
easy.
perfect
Yeah,
sense.
I don't want to be stressed out. I don't think I ever get stressed out. And when I do start to get stressed out, I just turn my laptop off turn my ringer off. I go sit outside and I walk in the grass sometimes to remind me of that long row of happiness.
So can you just explain a little bit more about what Shield of Faith is? Like for
It's
those
an
out there that
outreach.
that
Yep,
just have no idea like what it is, just tell us a little bit
sure,
about it if you could.
sure. I've been doing outreach ministry since I was 15,
What?
and or yeah, or somewhere around there. I've been always helping others because I saw that from what we had 11 wait, 8 sisters and 3 brothers. I had to
I like
count.
that you're like, wait,
I'm
hold
like,
on, let me do the
wait,
counting.
how
Right.
many? And they're all type A, and we're all amazing. They're all amazing. My mom was so amazing, single mom to raise all these kids, and she always needed help. And so I was always like, people came and helped her. So it's
Mm-hmm.
again, that's again me. I guess I'm just that person that just likes to help people. And so I've always done like um get some food, have it ready in case, somebody needs it. Especially my heart goes to single parents, whether
Right.
it's a man or a woman. They're struggling and they're trying to help their grow their kids. That's our next generation. We got to feed our next generation,
Absolutely.
or else what are we doing? And so I've had people, single moms live here with me, and I've helped just different things to help people get to grow in their spiritual life. And we then I got married. Then I got married, and so my husband and I, we had, he does drums and play the bass and I sing, and so we said, hey, why don't you just put music to all this? And so
I
we just
love it.
started popping up a tent anywhere in South Bend, Elkhart. We've even been all the way to Indianapolis, and popped up a tent and just give away food, clothing. We do praise and worship, maybe have 5 or 10 minutes of the word, and just have a good
Just
time.
have a good time. I'm gonna bring my
Yeah,
sax over one of these days. I know
you
I've been
better.
promising, and you told me about
Yeah,
this months ago, and I have not kept my end of the bargain, but it's coming.
that's okay.
It's coming.
It's okay. I know, but I do want to quickly make one little thing. I
Yes.
Just really quick, I want to say one day that we had the outreach, I was feeling down and all that because a lot of people were canceling, say, I can't come, I can't come. I'm like, ah. And so then it was raining really, really bad. And then I was like, oh, should we cancel? And I'm like, no, I don't feel like we should cancel. And it was
Mm-hmm.
out in Elkhart. And so we sat up, and then when it was time to start playing and handing out clothes. I am not kidding you, as God is my witness. All the way around us, it was sunshine right over us. And you could see all the rain and thunder all the way around. It was black and ugly. And not even 10 minutes after we started, this young lady, it was in September, it was cold, it was raining. She had no shoes, barely some skimpy little clothes. She
Mm-hmm.
was beat, she was bruised. You could tell she was abused.
Oh
And she
wow.
had her kids with her. None of them had shoes. They were cold. They were able to come get some. We had shoes for them. We had clothing. And then we always partner up with a church or a food bank nearby. So we connected her with them so that she can continue to get some help because she had been kicked out of her house with her kids.
Oh my
And had I
goodness.
decided to stay home, what do you think?
Right. Right. You would not have been able to save them that day.
I
That's
know somebody else would have, but I had the opportunity to be blessed to be part of, you know, that. And I just feel bad. There's so many people like that out there that are hurting.
Yeah, that's what
And
you call divine alignment right there, Paula. Absolutely. We
yes,
we tend to say, well, at least from my perspective, I don't believe in the word coincidence. I believe in divine order, divine alignment.
yes, Yep.
divine synchronicity, however you want to phrase it. Nothing
I agree.
just happens. And, that
Hmm.
story is enlightening because that was the way that it was supposed to go.
Yes. Yes. And I always say, no matter what I do, I'm only doing it for one reason, and it's not for kudos or any pat on the back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No,
I love
because
it.
and I'm gonna really quick, and I'm sorry, I really quickly say, if
There's no really quick with us, Paula. We can do this now. Let's go. I mean,
okay,
we're
okay.
in it. Yes.
I was just gonna say, another thing that really helped me, strangers can be such an impact in our lives, and we don't even know it sometimes,
Woo.
because I was in a relationship where I was, the guy was very abusive and all this stuff. And um he allowed me to go to the store. I went to the store, and I really hated life at that time. Again, here, me and I'm surprised I'm alive today. It's
Oh my gosh.
but I'm sitting there and I'm just like, oh, I gotta, I'm just hating and hating. And you can tell when somebody's really upset at life and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
this lady just taps me on the shoulders and she goes, do you know who Jesus Christ is? I'm like, what? Why are you talking to me? No, sweetie, do you know who Jesus Christ is? I said, yeah, that dude that's on the cross that hangs at the church. That dude, that's that Paula coming out again.
Right, right.
And
There
she's
goes
like,
that hood emerging again.
yeah,
Right, right.
hood rat, hood rat. And
I
I
wasn't
said,
gonna say that.
no, it's okay. It's okay. That's who I am. Well, that's who I was. And I'm sitting
Oh
there, I
dear.
looked at her, and she goes, well, can I just pray for you real quick? And I'm like, ah, sure, just to shut her up and get her out the
Mm-hmm.
way. I'm like, okay. And so it, it was maybe 30 seconds, not even that. And she prayed for me. I don't remember all the words, but I consider that woman as an angel who crossed my path at the time that I needed it. And I was like, okay. So, go home. I don't think of anything. All of a sudden, I just started feeling warmth in my heart, and just
Wow.
so I just knew God was pouring into me my next chapter of my life. And I was like, wow. And I began to cry and I just worshiped. And ever since that day is when I turned my life around and knew the path that I was supposed to be in.
Yeah, you were touched. You were definitely touched, and
Yes.
and
Oh
and,
my
we, and when
gosh.
you
He
feel
did.
it, and when you see it,
Hmm.
you can't unsee it. That's how I feel
Right.
about that type of thing. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. So yeah.
Unbelievable. That's an amazing story, and it's very empowering. And hopefully, someone listening to this will get
Hmm.
something um, powerful out of that message right there, and just knowing
Yes.
that faith and belief, things will happen. That we could say, who knows why she did what she did that day, but we already
Right.
know. And that's the
Yeah.
amazing part. Once you're enlightened, you don't necessarily see it right then when it's happening, but after the
Right.
fact, like you said, like now you just said, you can remember that back to the day, the year, the
Yes.
month, whatever,
Yeah.
and we don't need to get
Hmm.
into the weeds with it,
Right.
but that truly was um a big pivot point, if you will, in your life,
Yes.
that
Oh.
just absolutely
Hmm.
changed your trajectory. And I love how you've been able to blend faith with vision, um, and grace and mercy, and was able to marry it with things like, ownership,
Hmm.
resilience, uh,
Hmm.
pride, self awareness, and passion with everything that you've been doing. And this makes for a good segue, but you are a visionary. Hence, you came up with your own company, and the name is called Visions GPS Branding LLC, correct?
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, it is.
so please, so tell me, what was the motivation behind launching that? Did you always have a graphic design, um, flair about you, or was it something you just knew how to maneuver and just help brands look good, or was it a mixture of both?
It was a mixture of both, and again, I believe it's the gifting that I was given, and um, I could close my eyes, and then I can see something and create it, and it's just a gift that I've been given. And I quickly want to say the name is very intentional, and um, if you can put my logo up so that people can see it. um, Visions is for the vision that God gave me. GPS is my name, Gudelia Paula Sowers.
I see. I never knew that. I'm so glad that you broke that down. I've been meaning to ask you that for years, and I'm like, okay, well, it's the perfect platform to get that on out right now. So I did not know that.
Yes, and then the circle on the circle, if you look at it really closely, it's community, it's people circling each other. So it's community. So the vision that God gave me to work with the community and to work with businesses to empower them to be who they are.
That is just so fantastic. I love hearing that. Well, thank you already for just giving me the breakdown of that. And I love how the root of all of your success has always gone right back to God. I just, I feel that that is just phenomenal. It's rooted you, it's founded you, and been one of the biggest stroke of success that's carried you through all of the many hats that you've been wearing. Now you've done a lot. I know I've skipped all over the place.
It's
Um,
okay.
Score Michiana. Can you break that down a little bit? What is Score Michiana?
Okay, well, SCORE and ISBDC are the two programs that St. Mary's, that I was introduced to through St. Mary's
Mm-hmm.
and through Rotary, because Rotary, all of that was at around that same time. SCORE is a place where they mentor small businesses as well as ISBDC. And one of the SCORE mentors was my mentor for the Spark program, and he imparted so much wisdom into my life. He was a business owner, and that's where I learned how to be quiet and listen to somebody who doesn't look like me, if that makes
Whoa,
sense.
that's heavy. That's heavy. It
Yeah.
no, it makes a lot of sense. It may not register at face value, but when you sit there with that
Yes.
slowly, and folks,
Mm-hmm.
let that marinate a little bit, folks. You may want to hit the rewind button on that. Sometimes you just have to be still and be quiet. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, because that was part of my life for those 25 years, is that person that looked like that treated me so bad. And now
Mm-hmm.
here I was putting everybody in that space, which was unfair. And now that's I started listening, and I'm like, wow. And he had so much patience for me. And I told him, I don't know how to speak, what to say. And he's like, you're gonna be fine. And he had very calm and peaceful. I mean, he's gone on to be with the Lord and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
and he introduced me to a lot of business information that I would have never had the opportunity. And again, he was a mentor, a SCORE
There it
mentor,
is.
helping me to get to the next level and to find my path.
I love it. It sounds like you've had a lot of instrumental people in your life
Yes.
that help you, and maybe this sounds cliche, but find your voice, but you're using that and you're articulating that in all of these different associations that you're involved with, hence AMA, Michiana, and we can touch on that for a hot minute.
Hello?
You told me a little bit about the background, how you became I want to say president. I don't want to misquote, right? But you were just newly crowned the president of the American Marketing Association here of Michiana,
Oh,
correct?
Yeah, that was last year. I was the president of the American Marketing Association. Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit about that role? And do you think your role, well, how does your role play in the survival and the success of minority owned businesses today?
And again, sitting at the table,
Mm,
being on, being in the boardroom,
yes.
being able to hear and be able to navigate, because once you hear, you learn, and then you start navigating, because you need to learn how to make that roadmap and need to learn how to navigate that map and to get you where you need to go. And I sat in that boardroom for over, I'm just going to say 10 years. There's a little bit more, but um and just being that soft voice, listening and learning, because I learned so much just by listening and hearing and being able to navigate the branding place,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't know how to be a marketer. I didn't know what was all needed to be. I know things about social media, AI, and things like that. If people look at me and didn't know who I was, they'd be like, "What does she know?" And they have mentioned that. Oh, let's go to this person because I don't think you know what we're talking about. And I'm like, okay, pass me, go ahead and pass over me.
Wow.
You'll come back. But yeah, and finally when I've had this vision, and for people like us to be at that table. And there was a few times when we did bring some people in and it just didn't work out. And I'm not going to go into it because it doesn't
Sure.
matter now.
Right.
But as you understand, read between the lines. And I when I became president, I said my main mission for this year is to have an all Latino panel to be able to speak, because there's so many things going on in this world where a lot of times I see different people not being heard, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and we're seen as a different than what we really are. And so I
Yes.
said, this is an opportunity for us to be seen as who we are, professors, doctors, whatnot. So we had our first Latino panel this year, and I'm good. It was like, all right, we did it. It was amazing. We have such a lot of talent in our communities that I want to see more of it.
I love
So
it.
I'm, mhm,
Sensational.
mhm,
So now, in terms of, you said that folks kind of underestimated you as far as being a marketer, but truly, you've been one to master that, especially here on a local level. So I got to ask this question, which leads into a fantastic transition right into my next question with the Latin American Chamber of Commerce. But what
mhm.
specific trends or maybe shifts in marketing have you noticed lately and locally, especially here in Michiana, that entrepreneurs should probably be paying attention to?
Oh my goodness, everybody can't even shout it loud enough. The AI.
Mm.
And it's not just Chat GPT. Get off that Chat GPT. That's like Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay? Let's get into a little bit more, try to see what's out there. I mean, now you can write books, you can write all kinds of stuff. um you can create graphics on AI. All you do is just I use Perplexity a lot, and I say, please create this graphic. This is what I'm working on. Because when you have 15, 20 different things that you're doing and you have deadlines, you don't want AI to take over your creativity.
I
That's not
agree.
what it's there for. It's there for when you come into, like, I say, okay, I just can't do it anymore right now. So let me just put this in. I use it maybe once a week or something like that. Or here, I drafted this email. Do I sound really like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, help me fill in the
I want to
gaps.
sound,
Help me
yes,
position it in a friendly
yes,
tone, or make it more stern, or make it
yes,
more friendly focus. I understand. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So a lot of AI and a lot of stuff with the new laptops and programs that are out there are huge. I mean, people are recording with their phones anymore and um, doing, things on social media. I know everybody's like Facebook, Instagram's all that and all this stuff, but there's all these platforms, and knowing where your customer is what's important. You can have all this knowledge and you can have all this stuff, but if the secretary who does the buying is on Facebook, where do
Mm-hmm.
you need to be?
On Facebook.
There you go.
Got it. I'm taking notes. This is all this is glorious stuff here that you're running down. Now, so earlier you spoke about like the underrepresentation of the Latin community, correct? And now you're currently the president of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce of St. Joseph County. So once again, congratulations with that.
Thank you.
What is your role there, and how are you working
Woo!
to bridge opportunities for Latino-owned businesses in the region? I set them up. You just knock them out.
There you go. There you go. Woo! Well, let me tell you, as what I hear is we're the biggest kept secret in town. And I keep telling people it's because I don't want to take, if I took pictures of everything that I did and put it out there, people would
Hmm.
be like, you need to stop.
Right.
But no, I'm the proud president of the Latin American Chamber of Commerce. I've been the president since COVID, and it's been very, very hard. And I think everybody can attest to this because anybody who's had a board is having a hard time right now. People coming back out of COVID. I see that it's starting to change a little bit, getting volunteers and things like that. It's difficult. And then there's a lot of young people who have families, and it's hard for them to volunteer, or people who work. They have to work all day long. It's hard to volunteer when you can't get off of work.
Right.
And then there are business owners that are working zillions of hours because they don't know how to navigate their business. They're doing it, it's not their fault. They're doing it the long way when they can learn how to do it the easier way, because and that's I'm saying all that to say that's the reason about the Latin Chamber is I see there's a lot of, again, business owners in this community that are overlooked because of the greatness that they're doing, because they're hidden, and I want to bring them out so that people can see how amazing of a community we have here. We have photographers, videographers, restaurant owners, construction owners. Oh my gosh, all kinds of businesses. And what I've kind of narrowed it down is to have a roundtable um, once a month,
Hmm.
and just have anybody come and let's just talk. Then that way they don't feel like pressured, like, oh, because we do have the program similar to the Spark program, but it's in Spanish and English, on how to run your business 101, what to do, what are the next steps. We still do that. And we also mentor people. And also, we have gone to bat with people when they are facing certain things. I mean, I just went with somebody who had this organization and he was going through a lot of little barriers and stuff. I
Hmm.
walked through the process with him and helped him to see, because there was, of course, the language barrier, but yet, he was afraid, and it's understandable, because when you speak a different language, and when you want to say something and then people ask you again, what did you say again? And I understand that because when I speak Spanish, they're like, what are you saying, Paula? And I'm like,
Right.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it. I get it on the flip side. But we're there to support the community that's unseen. And having these roundtables, and I'm just going to speak a little bit. The last time we had a roundtable, we had a young lady who came, who her mom, because of what's going on right now and everything like that, she put everything underneath her daughter's name. She's young. She's like, oh my gosh, now this is all this super pressure. She was in tears. I don't know what to do. I've never run a business. Her
Mm.
mom's still running the business, but now, should anything happen to her mom, she's going to be in charge. And so we were there to walk her through, this is what you're going to need. This is, all these steps that you need to take. Have you done this? Have you done that? And then we had a financial advisor there, and sometimes we have attorneys in the room. And we also, like, we can't solve everything. It's an hour of power. We can't solve it. So we meet one on one after that. So if they want to, if not, then it's okay. But we're just there to give information, to help support our community, to navigate those barriers. And the other thing that I do want to say quickly is, I always say quickly, but does it
Yes.
ever become quickly?
Not with us. Never.
Right, right. So, the Latin Chamber and NIMBA, I kind of morph them together sometimes because I don't want to see barriers in our community. I
Right.
want us to be able to walk from one side to the other, from business to business, without having to crawl out of the silo. And for so long at the beginning, and I forgot to mention that, and that's one of my main things. I used to say at the beginning, I'll say this again. I won't say that. I will do it quick. I When I first started the journey here in South Bend, I started saying, I'm building a bridge. Okay. No, no,
Hmm.
wait. Let me back up. Let me back up. I am knocking down silos because I seen everywhere I went. You guys go here, those people go there, and those businesses go there. We're going to keep them separate. And you need help, you have to go to this community. You cannot go to that community. I'm like, but why? Okay.
Hmm.
So I started breaking down silos. And then after the whole year of breaking down silos, I began to build a bridge. And so I was building bridges, and that's sitting at the table, networking, meeting people for the whole year. Then the next year, now we're going to cross the bridge. Now we're going to go to you, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to go there. So that was the next year. Then the year after that, now we torn down the silos, we built the bridge, we crossed the bridge, and now we're shaking hands, we're creating partnerships, we're working together. The Latin Chamber with NIMBA, with Spark, and with anybody who wants to be in the room, because that's what we're about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the fact that you're breaking down boundaries. You're breaking barriers rather, and I think that was the first thing that I had mentioned when I got up to
Mm-hmm.
in front of speaking with the group. I said, "Well, you've been a fantastic mentor to myself and so many others." And what I think folks really admire about you is that you are that superwoman. You like to say, "Hey, I will be the only one in that room, but I'll make it. I'll bust that door down so you all can walk through so much easier than when I first got to that door." And I think that's really important, and that needs to be said. Without folks like you that spearhead those type of movements, um, a lot of us would still be silent and just wouldn't have the fortitude to say, you know what, I can do it too.
Right.
I just had to throw that in there.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I couldn't have done this if it hadn't have been those women and those men that did that for me. And that's an open door to say that all of this and a bag of chips could not have happened without having an amazing spouse. And here again, I don't want to say it without tearing up, who has been my backbone
Hmm.
and has heard me cry and has heard me hurt or have seen me hurt, but he's been a rock. And that's what sometimes having that person, mentor, whatever you want to call it. My husband has been my mentor as well, and my rock, and my person who has held me through those nights when I was like, I don't understand why.
Wow, I love hearing that. That's
Hmm.
You're using poetic license right now. Look, you got me tearing up over here. Like I'm almost speechless right now. It very just so heartfelt, but yet so real and so honest. And the takeaway, the reason why I do this podcast is because I believe that there are folks out there that could really learn and pick up some of these gems to be a success in their own right, whatever industry that is. And I always
Yes.
ask one final question, at the end to all of my honored guests that's been able to come in and grace me with their presence and all that, and say, hey, if there is one, this is where I do my little lock and key dance. If you had to name like one key, that has unlocked your success, what would it be? I mean, I think you just named it, but I'll ask again anyway.
I should have saved that for that, right?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, maybe I need to just maybe I can put that in the edit chamber or
Yeah, you
something
can
like
do
that.
that.
But
Yeah, you can edit it, and yeah, that's fine because that is the key. That is the key, and also the other main key, because I carry lots of keys.
yeah,
Um, my main That's my main key, but my sub key when the main key isn't available is believing in me.
I love it. I love it. That's very powerful right there. I think that's what folks
Hmm.
should really take away with this. Out of all the sessions I've been over at Nimba, you've always stressed the importance. Be yourself, tell your story. uh, don't be afraid of failure, because we're all going to fail. But
Yeah.
you've been instrumental in letting us know it's okay to fail, but make sure that you're failing up. Learn from the
Yes.
mistakes and that type of
Yes.
thing. And
Hmm.
very empowering and encouraging words. And I think you've dropped so many gems today. I've got 3 or 4 pages here of notes that I'm going to be using for myself moving forward to help me, to keep growing my business and to be a success.
Amen.
And I have to put this in. You are the reason that I'm doing this podcast, because I remember being in your home office that day and I was telling you how I used to produce Buzz TV, and you just looked at
Hmm.
me with cross eyes like, Lauren, hello. What are you doing? Why aren't you
Clear.
moving with
Yeah.
that? And so you
Yeah.
were the one that actually put the battery in my pack, and I'm thankful. And thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you. It's been an honor.
Wonderful. Well, everyone, listen, you have been locked in with Gudelia, Paula Sowers, visionary, mentor, builder, and most importantly, someone who continues to pour into others with purpose and precision. From Nimba to the Latin American Chamber, from Spark to Score, from her own business, Visions GPS branding, to her outreach through Christ, through Shield of Faith. Paula, you wear many titles and you show up in every space with intention and, most importantly, impact. And it meant the world to have you here today on Lock and Key, not just because of your resume, my dear, but because of your heart.
Thank
And
you.
to our listeners out here, I hope you heard half of the things that I heard today. That success, it isn't just about strategy, it's about service, as Paula so eloquently said. It's about identity and staying anchored in your why. And if this episode has moved you all out there, please share it with someone else who's walking in purpose or looking to unlock their next level. Like we like to say around here, every locked door needs the right key, and sometimes that
That's
key
right.
is a voice like Paula's. How about that?
Ooh, love it. Love it.
Indeed. All right, you've been listening to Lock and Key. Take care, everybody. God bless. Good night.
Good night.